It was supposed to be just a normal birthday for my girlfriend, but the way she humiliated me in front of her friends, the way they all laughed. I still can't forget it. And every time I remember, it hurts all over again. I should have seen the signs. But sometimes, when you've been with someone long enough, you convince yourself the worst things only happen to other people. The rooftop was glowing. Downtown Chicago stretched out in every direction, lit up like a postcard. Melissa's 35th birthday was supposed to be a celebration. Champagne towers. Edison bulbs draped above marble tabletops. Laughter bouncing off glass railings. She always had a flair for drama, but I never expected this. I was standing just off-center, watching her make her rounds. That smile she used on strangers was plastered on her face, the one I hadn't seen for months, not for me, anyway. When she finally drifted over to where I was waiting, I reached into my blazer, pulled out the little velvet box I'd been carrying all evening like a secret. I'd spent weeks picking it out. The necklace wasn't just expensive, it meant something. A single diamond drop, minimalist, elegant, like the version of her I'd fallen in love with before life got loud. I opened it slowly. Let the sparkle catch the light. Happy birthday, Mel. For half a second, she blinked. I saw something flicker in her eyes. But instead of thank you or even a smile, she turned and pointed. To Ryan, she said, voice raised loud enough for the crowd to catch. My Real rock this year. There was a beat of silence. Then a cheer erupted from her side of the patio. And that's when she pulled out her gift for me. A box. Thin. Wrapped in matte black paper. I took it, confused. Opened it with hands that were suddenly too cold. Inside, a folded t-shirt. Plain gray, soft cotton. One word printed in bold white letters across the chest, divorced. The laughter came like a wave. Not everyone joined in, some were caught off guard, but her friends. Her girls. They were already filming it. Screaming with laughter, phones out, champagne sloshing. Melissa didn't even flinch. Just sipped from her glass like it was sparkling water. Can you imagine? Standing there, gift in hand, something you picked out with genuine care, only to be mocked like a punchline in a joke you never agreed to be part of. I didn't say a word. Didn't ask for an explanation. My body went still before my brain even caught up. All I could feel was the burn behind my ribs, like something important just tore in two. She turned back to Ryan. Whispered something that made him grin. His hand grazed the small of her back, casual, familiar. Like it wasn't the first time. My world didn't shatter all at once. It cracked in slow motion, like glass under pressure. Every second stretched. Every laugh echoing longer than it should have. I stood in the middle of it, stuck in place, like the only one who didn't get the joke. And that t-shirt. I held it in my hand like it might explain something. Like it might make any of this make sense. But it didn't. It never would. You know those moments when the body moves before the mind catches up. I didn't storm out. Didn't make a scene. I just walked. Gift box still in hand. No one tried to stop me. A few turned to look, eyes wide, mouths half open like they couldn't decide whether to laugh or pretend they didn't see. But no one stepped forward. Not even Melissa. Especially not Melissa. I pressed the elevator button with the kind of deliberate calm that only exists right after something breaks inside you. The doors slid open like they knew I needed out. I stepped in alone. And then it was just me. Me, and the silence. The elevator began its slow descent, gliding down the side of the building, glass panels revealing the glittering Chicago skyline stretching for miles. City lights smeared like tears against the dark. That quiet hum of machinery and faint rooftop laughter fading behind me. That sound, the muffled echoes of her friends still clinking glasses, still laughing, it followed me down like a ghost. I stared straight ahead, but my reflection stared back. And I couldn't look away. There I was, dressed sharp, shoulders squared, jaw tight. A man who walked into that party thinking he was doing something good. Something right. A man who still believed, maybe stupidly, that the gesture of giving meant something. That thoughtfulness still had a place in love. But I was wrong. So wrong it was almost laughable. Melissa didn't just hurt me, she humiliated me. In front of everyone. And for what? A joke. Some twisted performance to entertain her circle. Who does that to someone they claim to love? I adjusted my grip on the necklace box, still unopened. It felt heavier now, like it carried the weight of all the years we'd spent building something I thought was real. I couldn't stop the replay in my head. Her voice echoing through the night air. To Ryan, my Real rock this year. And that damn shirt. Divorced. I let out a breath, long and slow, and leaned my head back against the cool elevator glass. My pulse was still racing, but my expression didn't show it. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. Not then. Not ever. This wasn't shock anymore. It was clarity. Cold. Quiet. Sharp around the edges. There was no denying it now. Whatever we'd once had, it was long gone. Replaced by something performative. Something cruel. The elevator pinged softly as it reached the ground floor. Doors opened. The lobby was empty, save for the concierge glancing up briefly from behind the front desk. I nodded once. He didn't say a word. Maybe he'd seen this kind of walk before, the kind where a man exits the room not as a husband, but as something else entirely. I pushed through the revolving doors into the thick Chicago night. Wind off the lake cut through my shirt like a warning. The city was alive, cars pulsing through the streets, strangers laughing on corners, the rhythm of nightlife beating on as if the world hadn't just shifted on its axis. But for me, everything had stopped. I stood there for a long minute, letting the night hit me in the face. My fingers curled around the velvet box. Still unopened. Still waiting. Just like me. Still waiting to understand what the hell just happened. And in that moment, I made one quiet decision. I wasn't going to call her. I wasn't going to ask why. Not yet. Because whatever came next, I needed to face it on my own terms. I didn't drive right away. For a while, I just sat there. In the driver's seat. Engine humming low. Hands resting on the wheel like I might forget what they were for. The necklace box lay in the passenger seat, unopened, exactly where it landed when I dropped it from my hand without looking. I couldn't make myself start the car yet. I needed a second. Maybe more. Have you ever felt your entire relationship flicker through your mind in fast forward? Little snapshots. Bits of conversation. Half-forgotten jokes. Her laugh in the early days, when it sounded like it came from somewhere deep and unguarded. The way she used to trace circles on my palm when we sat in silence, no need for words. That woman. I hadn't seen her in a long time. The version of her up on that rooftop, smug, distant, proudly cruel, felt like someone else entirely. Like a stranger wearing her skin. I finally turned the key. The car rolled into the traffic like everything was normal. As if I hadn't just had the floor ripped out from under me in front of dozens of people. As if I wasn't unraveling silently, one breath at a time. I didn't have a destination in mind. I just drove. Let the streets carry me wherever they wanted. Downtown faded behind me, replaced by longer blocks and amber lights. Rain had fallen earlier, the pavement was still wet, and the reflections of traffic signals danced in puddles like restless thoughts. My grip on the steering wheel tightened as I kept replaying it, the way Melissa smiled at him. Ryan. It wasn't just polite. It wasn't even secretive. It was tender. More tender than anything she'd offered me in months, maybe longer. And that's what cracked something in me, not the humiliation, not even the t-shirt. But the fact that she looked at him like he mattered. Like he was the one she cherished. When did I become the background character in my own marriage? I don't even remember the last time she laughed with me like that. No phone in hand. No sideways glance. Just joy. With Ryan, it was easy. Effortless. With me, lately, it had been sighs. Deflection. Obligatory pecks on the cheek. That tight smile she gave when she was barely tolerating a conversation. But tonight, she looked alive. And I looked like a fool. I slowed at a red light. The necklace box shifted slightly in the seat next to me. I picked it up, opened it this time. There it was. Shining like a promise that never stood a chance. I'd pictured her face when she saw it. The surprise. The tear in her eye. Maybe a soft laugh as she whispered something like, "You remembered the style I loved." But none of that happened. Instead, she gave him credit, and gave me a joke with the punchline spelled out in cotton. Divorced. That word kept echoing, bouncing off the inside of my skull. Maybe I should have shouted. Made a scene. Maybe I should have looked Ryan in the eye and dared him to explain what exactly he meant to my wife. But I didn't. Because deep down, I already knew. And that was the hardest part. Not the betrayal. Not even the public spectacle. It was the quiet confirmation that I'd been replaced, and worse, she didn't even try to hide it. As the light turned green, I tossed the necklace box into the glove compartment and shut it with a hard click. I didn't want to see it anymore. Not tonight. I turned down a quieter street, the kind where the lamps buzz low and most people are already in bed. I could see my own reflection in the rear view, eyes darker than usual, jaw set like stone. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something inside me had shifted. And there was no going back. It started with one call. I didn't pick up. Then another. Then another. The phone lit up on the passenger seat, buzzing against the leather like it was trying to crawl its way back into my attention. I ignored it. My hand hovered once, then dropped back to the steering wheel. I wasn't ready to hear her voice. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She'd made her statement in front of an entire rooftop of people. She looked me in the face, or worse, past me, and offered that humiliation with a smile. Now she wanted to talk. No. Let her sit with it. The phone buzzed again. I silenced it without even checking. Just kept driving, aimless, my thoughts louder than the city noise outside. Horns. Sirens. That low, constant hum of life continuing, uncaring. Indifferent. She used to say I was the calm one. The rock, her words. Back when that meant something. Funny how fast people forget what they once leaned on. Buzz. 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 I finally glanced down. 34 missed calls. I let out a breath through my nose. Not a laugh. Not even close. More like disbelief wrapped in exhaustion. Then the messages started. Eric, seriously. Pick up. It was a joke. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Come on, babe. Everyone thought it was funny. You're being dramatic now. Right. Because I was the dramatic one. She handed me a t-shirt announcing our divorce like it was part of some improv bit, and I'm the problem for walking out without clapping. The next message came in fast. Ryan didn't know I was doing that, okay. He had nothing to do with it. That made me grip the wheel harder. The same Ryan she toasted in front of all her friends. The same Ryan she smiled at like he held the moon. Sure. Totally innocent. Another message, if you really love me, you'll pick up. There it was. The pivot. From playful excuses to guilt. And not 10 seconds later, you always do this. Shut down. Run off. You're not perfect either, Eric. Ah. And there it was, the shift from guilt to blame. Buzz. 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 I turned the volume down. Let the messages pile up. By the time I pulled into a random lot outside an old diner off the expressway, the missed calls had jumped to 157. 157. I sat there, the blue glow of the screen casting a strange light inside the car. My fingers hovered again. I didn't open the texts. I didn't respond. I just watched the number climb, message after message flooding in like panic water rising under a locked door. Because that's what it was now, panic. She was spiraling. And honestly, a part of me found that satisfying. Not because I wanted to see her hurt, I didn't. But because for once, I wasn't the one chasing. For once, she had to sit in the discomfort. In the silence. That silence I'd swallowed for months. Every time she brushed me off. Every time she forgot date night. Or answered questions with one-word replies. Every time she walked into the room and barely looked at me, like I was just furniture that occasionally paid bills and nodded at the right moments. Now she was listening to her own echo. And it was finally too loud to ignore. The last message that came in before I turned the phone off completely. Please just tell me you're okay. And maybe I should've. Maybe I should've sent something, a cold, curt response. Let her know I wasn't lying in a ditch somewhere. But I didn't. Because the truth? I wasn't okay. But I also wasn't hers to worry about anymore. I didn't go home. I didn't even consider it. Instead, I pulled into a quiet hotel on the north side, one of those mid-tier places with forward floors and polite staff that don't ask too many questions when a man walks in without luggage or a reservation. The front desk guy handed me a key card without much small talk. Maybe he could read it on my face, that hollow, exhausted look people get when they're not just checking in for the night, but escaping something they haven't fully processed yet. Room 312. Third floor. End of the hallway. Far from the elevator. I liked that. When I stepped inside, the room smelled like lemons and cheap soap, sterile but strangely calming. There was a soft buzzing from the overhead light, and the vent rattled slightly whenever the heat kicked on. I dropped my phone on the desk, face down. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. Not the TV. Not the mirror. Just the wall. Blank. Plain. Like maybe if I stared long enough, something in my mind would go quiet. It didn't. I leaned forward and opened the glove box. The necklace box was still there, pressed into the corner like it was trying to hide. I took it out, rested it on my palm. I flipped the lid open. That diamond still sparkled. Still perfect. Still waiting for a moment that never came. I don't know how long I sat there like that. Could have been 5 minutes. Could have been an hour. Time was bending now, stretching in every direction, refusing to move like it used to. Eventually, I logged into our joint bank account. Not out of suspicion. Just impulse. Like a reflex. Like checking the mirror after a bad haircut, even though you already know how bad it looks. The numbers loaded. At first, nothing stood out. Then I clicked on the last month's statement. And that's when my stomach dropped. 2 flight tickets. One to Miami. One to San Diego. Not mine. Both bought under her name. Luxury hotel booking in Miami Beach, 3 nights, listed under a corporate card I didn't know she had access to. Dinner at a place I'd only seen in travel blogs. A place where the wine menu didn't have prices. Room service for 2. My fingers hovered over the trackpad, too stunned to scroll further. These weren't business expenses. And they sure as hell weren't solo trips. Each line item read like a slap. Not because of the money, we had some savings, enough to weather a few splurges. But because I wasn't meant to see these. These were hidden in plain sight. Like secrets she thought I'd never bother to look for. It wasn't just the birthday party. It wasn't just the humiliation. This went deeper. I leaned back against the stiff hotel pillows, chest tight, thoughts spiraling like wildfire. She'd planned this for a while. Built it out piece by piece, private trips, new cards, new names showing up in shared accounts like strangers in our house. And the worst part? I didn't even see it coming. Because I trusted her. Because I was busy, working, saving, trying to be a steady husband while she, traveled the country with Ryan. Played out some fantasy life while I sat at home wondering why her texts got shorter and her laughs rarer. The urge to smash the necklace box against the wall hit me like a wave. But I didn't. I just closed it gently, placed it on the nightstand, and turned out the light. The darkness settled in like an old friend. No tears. No shouting. Just a silence so thick it felt like armor. I woke up before sunrise. Not because I set an alarm. My body just refused to stay asleep. Like it knew rest wasn't on the table anymore. The kind of sleep you get after betrayal, it's never deep. Never clean. You wake up with the same weight in your chest you fell asleep with, only now it's had a few hours to settle into your bones. The room was quiet. Too quiet. I sat up, grabbed my phone off the desk. Battery at 12%. No surprise. The screen lit up, over 200 unread messages, a sea of blue bubbles and missed calls, Melissa's name stamped over and over like a glitch in a nightmare. I didn't open any of them. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I searched divorce attorneys near me. The top result was a guy named Carson Doyle. Downtown office. 42 5-star reviews, and a bio that said he specialized in high-conflict separations. That phrase alone told me he knew exactly the kind of storm I was walking into. I called. His assistant picked up after the first ring, chipper in that corporate warm kind of way. Mr. Doyle has an opening at 10. Book it, I said. First thing. It felt surreal, even as I said it. Like I was reading lines from someone else's story. But it wasn't. It was mine. This was real now. This wasn't about teaching Melissa a lesson or getting her to apologize. That ship had sailed, caught fire, and sank in the middle of a luxury rooftop bar. This was about truth. About protecting what little of myself I hadn't already handed over to her for free. At 9:45, I was parked outside his building. I wore the same clothes from the night before. No shave. No coffee. Just tired eyes and the weight of a necklace still sitting in my glove box. The office was clean. Leather chairs, tall windows, the faint smell of espresso and ink. Carson Doyle looked exactly like you'd expect, tailored suit, gray at the temples, and eyes that didn't blink more than necessary. He didn't offer me a bottle of water or ask how I was feeling. He just gestured to a seat and got straight to it. Tell me what happened. So I did. Not all of it. Not the little heartbreaks. Not the way Melissa used to hum while folding laundry, or the sound she made when she laughed in her sleep. Just the facts. The birthday party. The t-shirt. The flights. The hotel charges I didn't authorize. The way she used my trust like a currency. He nodded slowly as I talked. Scribbled something on a yellow legal pad. Was there a prenup? No, I said. He raised an eyebrow. Then you're going to want to gather every piece of financial documentation you can. Account logins. Tax records. Credit reports. The whole picture. He leaned back in his chair, laced his fingers together. Let me be clear, Eric. This isn't about getting even. It's about clarity. Peace. You don't need revenge. You need protection. That word hit me hard. Protection. Because somewhere along the way, I'd stopped feeling protected in my own life. She'd made me the villain in a story I didn't even know she was writing, spending money behind my back, making memories with someone else, turning our marriage into a stage for a punchline. I left with a folder of instructions and a list of what to do next. But more than that, I left with something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. Even if just a little. I drove back to the hotel, phone still off, and sat in the car with the windows cracked just enough to let in the sound of traffic. And I thought, not about her. About me. What I was willing to lose, and what I wasn't going to let her take with her. Not anymore. There's a special kind of silence in a hotel room after you've made a decision that changes everything. It's not peace, not exactly. But it's clean. No more spinning. No more waiting for her next move. Just the kind of stillness that comes when you finally decide you're done trying to fix something that was never yours to repair alone. Late that afternoon, someone knocked on the door. Not loud. Not rushed. Just 3 soft, intentional taps. I didn't get up right away. I wasn't expecting anyone. Melissa wouldn't come herself, not after 157 ignored calls. She wasn't the show up uninvited type. Not unless she was ready for a scene. I walked over, looked through the peephole. Jessica. Her best friend. Maid of honor at our wedding. The one who used to call me her favorite human not named Melissa. Always quick with a hug, always wearing something too bold for the room. But today, she looked tired. No lipstick. No oversized sunglasses. Just her, standing there with her hands wrapped around a takeaway coffee cup like she needed it for balance. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. She gave me a small, guilty smile. Hey, Eric. Jess. She glanced down the hallway, then back at me. Can we talk? Just a few minutes. I leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. She sent you. She hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. But I'm not here to take sides. I raised an eyebrow. You sure about that? She let out a breath. Honestly. Not anymore. That surprised me. Jessica had always been loyal to Melissa in the way only childhood friends can be, the kind of loyalty that overlooks almost anything. But even now, even with her polished calm, I could see the doubt behind her eyes. She told me it was supposed to be a joke, Jessica said, voice low. The shirt. The toast. All of it. I didn't answer. Just waited. She said you'd laugh. That you two joked about divorce all the time. I tilted my head slightly. Do I look like I'm laughing? She flinched a little. No. You don't. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The hallway was quiet except for the low whir of the ice machine at the far end. She didn't expect you to walk, Jessica added. She thought you'd roll your eyes, maybe sulk a little, but, she trailed off, biting her bottom lip. She didn't think you'd actually leave. I gave a short, humorless laugh. Then she never knew me at all. Jessica looked at me then, really looked. And something softened in her face. Like she was seeing it for the first time. You were good to her, she said quietly. Even when she wasn't making it easy. That landed somewhere in my chest. Not because I needed the validation, but because no one else had said it yet. Not even me. She told me about the necklace, Jessica added. Said she found it in the car, in the glove box. She cried when she saw it. I shrugged. Little late for tears. Jessica nodded slowly. Yeah. I think she's realizing that now. Then she took a small step forward, hesitated, and handed me the coffee. I didn't come here to defend her. I came because, you deserve someone to say it, that wasn't okay. Not even close. I took the cup, more out of habit than anything. Jessica turned to leave, then paused, her voice softer now. She's not doing well. I know that probably doesn't matter to you, but, it's not just guilt. It's fear. She knows she messed this up beyond repair. I watched her walk down the hallway, her heels clicking quietly on the linoleum. She didn't say goodbye. And I didn't stop her. I closed the door and sat down again, coffee cooling in my hands. It's strange. I'd expected fury. Excuses. Maybe manipulation wrapped in tears. But that was something else. That was the first time anyone in her world admitted the truth out loud. And even though I didn't want to care, a part of me, the one that still remembered how she used to kiss my forehead when I fell asleep on the couch, felt it. She never thought I'd walk. And now, she was starting to realize I might not come back. It had been 4 days. 4 days since the rooftop. 3 since I turned off my phone. 1 since Jessica showed up at my door and quietly confirmed what I already knew deep down. Melissa never thought I'd actually leave. So when I walked into the office that morning, I didn't expect much. Just another quiet Monday behind my desk, emails, meetings, the usual. The kind of day you take comfort in because it doesn't feel like your life is falling apart. I made it until 10:13 a.m. That's when I heard the elevator ding. And then the shift, subtle at first. Voices softening. Chairs turning. That awkward sort of hush that spreads across an open office when something, or someone, shows up who doesn't belong. I looked up. And there she was. Melissa. Standing just inside the main entrance of my office floor. Mascara smudged. Hair pulled back too tight like she hadn't slept. One hand clutching her phone, the other twisted into the strap of her purse like it was keeping her upright. And then, in front of my entire department, 25 people who knew her face from office parties and holiday cards, she broke. "Eric," she said, her voice too loud in the kind of space built for emails, not breakdowns. "Can we talk? Please?" All eyes turned to me. I stood slowly, the weight of their stares thick on my shoulders. She didn't wait for permission. She walked toward my desk, heels clicking on the tile, breath catching in her throat like she'd rehearsed this a dozen times but still didn't know how it would go. "Please," she said again. I need to explain." "Not here," I muttered. My voice came out sharper than I meant it to. "Let's go." I led her out of the office, down to the street. The cold hit us hard, April whined off the lake, sharp and slicing, but neither of us flinched. We walked in silence until I found a quiet cafe on the corner. One of those places with too many hanging plants and soft jazz leaking through tinny speakers. We sat. She didn't touch her drink. I didn't say a word. "I didn't mean for it to go that way," she blurted, eyes red. "The shirt, it was stupid. It was supposed to be funny. I thought you'd laugh. You thought I'd laugh at a t-shirt that said, 'Divorced,' while you toasted another man." Her lips trembled. "It was just Ryan." "It wasn't, it's not what you think." I leaned back, crossing my arms. "What do I think, Melissa?" She hesitated, then tried again. "I don't love him." The words landed like a rock skipping once before sinking. "You gave him credit for your birthday," I said, voice low. "In front of everyone. You toasted him. You kissed him on the cheek, and you gave me a breakup gag gift like I was just some accessory you were done wearing." Tears started to spill, but I didn't reach for a napkin. Didn't slide one across the table. "I didn't plan it like that," she whispered. "But you did plan it," I said, steady. "You bought the shirt. You invited him. You made the toast. That wasn't a slip, Melissa. That was a decision." She wiped at her cheek. I panicked. "I've been feeling so disconnected. Like we're not us anymore." "You never said that." "I didn't want to make it worse. And this was your solution." She didn't answer. I watched her for a moment. The woman I used to fall asleep next to. The woman I once surprised with flowers just because it was Tuesday. She sat across from me now, small, fragile, but still somehow trying to control the room. "I'm filing for divorce," I said, voice calm. "Final." She sucked in a breath like I'd struck her. "Eric, no games. No tests. No performances. I'm not interested in who you are when people are watching. I'm interested in who you are when it's just us. And that person. I haven't seen her in a long time." She leaned forward, desperation crawling into her voice. "You're giving up?" "No. You gave up." "I'm just catching up." We sat in silence. Then she said it, the thing I think even she didn't believe anymore. "I didn't think you'd leave me." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. I know." And with that, I stood. I didn't look back. I didn't knock. It was still my house, technically. The key slid into the lock like it always had, familiar, mechanical. But the click that followed, that sounded different. Like it knew this would be the last time. The place was quiet. Too clean. Someone had lit one of those overpriced candles she liked, fig and sandalwood, or something close enough. The scent tried to wrap around me like a memory, but it didn't land the way it used to. She was waiting in the living room. Hair done. Makeup soft. Dressed not like she was lounging, but like she'd been planning this moment, like she thought if she played it just right, we could rewind the film. "Hey," she said, voice low, practiced casual. I didn't respond. Just walked past her, down the hallway to my old bedroom. I'd brought 2 duffel bags. I didn't need much. Clothes. A few personal files. Some books. My old watch from my dad. Everything else could stay. "You don't have to rush," she said from the doorway behind me. I didn't turn around. Just kept packing. "I just thought maybe we could talk more," she continued, her voice dipping into that tone she used when she wanted something softer, syrupy, measured. I zipped one of the bags shut. She stepped closer. "Or we could not talk," she added, her fingertips brushing lightly across the doorframe. "Just be here. Together. One night." That's when I finally turned. She was leaning against the doorway, arms crossed just enough to frame her figure, blouse undone slightly at the collar, that same perfume she wore the first time we met hanging lightly in the air. But her eyes. They were wrong. Not in the sense of being dishonest. Just empty. Searching. I'd seen her eyes light up for someone else, on that rooftop. I'd seen the sparkle she used to reserve for me, and how easily it transferred to a man named Ryan when she thought I was too dull to notice. And now, she was offering me the last thing she thought she had left. Her body. Like that would rewrite the last few weeks. Like that would undo the toast, the shirt, the 157 calls, the panicked messages, the look in her eyes when she realized I wasn't bluffing. I shook my head once. Not harsh. Not cruel. Just, done. I'm not staying, Melissa. Her lips parted slightly, like she had a dozen counteroffers lined up, but they all jammed in her throat at once. You don't feel anything anymore? She asked, almost a whisper. I looked at her. Really looked. And the truth surprised even me. I feel tired, I said. She blinked fast. Once. Twice. Then she nodded. You really mean it. I lifted the second bag, slung it over my shoulder. You asked me that day, in the cafe, if I was giving up. She didn't move. I'm not giving up, I said, stepping past her. I'm choosing myself. She stood frozen in the hallway as I walked out, the candlelight flickering behind her. No tears this time. No last plea. Just the sound of the door shutting behind me. A softer click this time. Final. Outside, the night was colder than I expected. But I didn't shiver. I just breathed. Long, slow. Free. The morning was quiet. That heavy kind of quiet, where the city feels like it's still sleeping. No sirens, no construction clatter. Just gray light seeping through the blinds of the hotel room, soft and indifferent. I sat at the small desk by the window, nursing a coffee that had gone cold 10 minutes ago, staring down at the shirt. That damn shirt. Still folded. Still smug in its simplicity. Still bearing that one bold word across the chest in crisp white letters, divorced. It should have made me angry. It had, for a while. But now, I just looked at it the way you look at an object left behind by someone you don't know anymore. Something so obviously meant to wound, but from someone who no longer had access to the places that mattered. I picked it up, draped it across the bed, and took a photo. No filters. No setup. Just the shirt, the message, and the soft light of a morning I wasn't supposed to have to myself. Then I opened Instagram. I hadn't posted in months. Maybe longer. But that morning, it felt right. Caption, thanks for the clarity. I hit share. That was it. No long rant. No explanation. No victim speech. Just 7 words and a picture that said the rest. I left my phone face down on the desk and let it breathe. I didn't need to see what happened next. Not right away. But it didn't take long. The notification started buzzing in like rain on a windshield, steady, then pouring. Friends. Colleagues. Old college buddies. Even people I barely remembered from networking events, suddenly replying with stunned messages, fire emojis, and variations of, wait, what happened? And then the DMs. Some from her friends. People who'd been at that rooftop party, now conveniently realizing it maybe wasn't that funny after all. People apologizing on her behalf. People who were real quiet when she was laughing with Ryan. But now they were backing away. I finally opened my phone around noon. The post had gone viral. Not just among our circle, but out there. Strangers were resharing it, stitching stories of betrayal and petty cruelty. Someone had found the event tag from the rooftop party and matched the location. Someone else, probably one of Melissa's loyal girls, leaked a clip of her holding up the shirt, laughing, while I stood off to the side. And in the middle of it all, Melissa's name. Attached to a joke that wasn't funny anymore. She called. Of course she did. But I didn't answer. The texts came next. Short at first. Eric, please. Take that down. Then longer. I'm getting hate from people I don't even know. This isn't fair. You've made your point. And finally, desperate, Ryan stopped answering me. People are blocking me. I didn't mean for this to happen. That one stuck with me. Because I didn't mean for this to happen either. I didn't mean to fall in love with someone who'd weaponize humiliation as entertainment. I didn't mean to trust her with my heart, my finances, my future, only for her to treat them like punchlines. But the thing is, I never once tried to destroy her. I just told the truth. Let her actions speak. The rest, that was all her. Jessica messaged me too, not to take sides this time, but to tell me Melissa had been crying for 2 days straight. That Ryan ghosted her the morning after the post went viral. That their business relationship didn't survive 24 hours of public scrutiny. That some mutuals were quietly unfollowing. That she hadn't shown up to work. And part of me wanted to feel something. Pity. Relief. Regret. But what I actually felt was peace. Not joy. Not smugness. Just the first real breath I'd taken in weeks. Because the truth had finally done what I couldn't, it drew the line. It showed the world who she'd become without me having to scream or beg or break. She did that all by herself. I walked through a park later that day, Phone finally in my pocket, not buzzing anymore. Just trees and quiet and the distant sound of kids playing near a fountain. And for the first time, I realized I didn't need closure from her. I was the closure. My silence. My exit. My refusal to stay in a story where the villain wore the same face I used to wake up beside. The shirt. I left it on the bench. Folded. Clean. Final. Someone else could wear it now, or toss it, or leave it for the wind. It wasn't mine anymore. None of it was. So that's how it ended, not with a fight, but with a quiet photo and the choice to stop playing a part in someone else's performance. Tell me, what would you have done? Drop a comment. Let's talk about it. And if you've ever walked away from someone who thought you never would, hit that like button. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is leave without looking back.